Do you know that the oldest recorded woman to have babies was 66 years old? What if you want to have a child of your own, but you can't get pregnant? My name is Neka Kwai, and as a biology student, I want to share with you some of the things I've learned from our science books and the various research articles about how human pregnancies can be achieved. Pregnancy can be achieved naturally or by assisted reproductive technology. So first, we will take a look at the natural process of pregnancy, birth, and the cultural variations. Second, we will also take a look at infertility and the meaning in many cultures. And third, we will also take a look at assisted reproductive technology. So about 5 days before fertilization occurs in a female's body, the anterior pituitary gland secretes follicle-stimulating hormones, FSH, which ripens the follicle of the ovary that then release estrogen. Each follicle contains one egg, and on average, only one follicle becomes fully mature. When the estrogen level is high enough, the anterior pituitary releases a surge of luteinizing hormones, or LH, which triggers ovulation and causes the follicles to rupture and release the egg cell. Once the egg leaves the ovary, it is directed into the fallopian tube. If the egg is not fertilized by the sperm within 24 hours, the unfertilized egg will die and the entire system will reset itself, preparing to create a new egg and uterine lining the following month. For the sperm to get into the anatomical female body during sexual intercourse, if a male ejaculates into the female vaginal canal, millions of sperm will be on their way, but only one sperm will successfully penetrate through the armor of the zona pellucida. Fertilization occurs in which the 23 chromosomes from the egg pair up with the 23 chromosomes from the sperm, and a new cell, the zygote, is formed from the two gametes. The zygote's 46 paired chromosomes constitute the new organism's unique genotype set once and for all at the moment of conception. The sex chromosomes determine whether a person will be female or male. In the female, of course, we know this is called XX, and in male, XY. Upon successful fertilization, implantation occurs and finishes up about around 12 days after ovulation, and the cells that are to become the placenta, called trophoblasts, secretes a luteinizing-like hormone called human chorionic gonadotrophin, or the HCG, that signals to the ovulated follicle that there is a pregnancy in the uterus. This helps rescue that follicle, now called the corpus luteum, from degenerating as it normally would do in that stage of the menstrual cycle. The corpus luteum is responsible for the production of progesterone required to maintain the pregnancy until 6 to 7 weeks of gestation, when the placenta develops and takes over until the baby is born approximately 40 weeks later. Ironically, many cultures mistakenly believe that the woman is responsible for the child's sex and blame her if she fails to have sons. Many cultures also have belief about how to predict the baby's sex. According to ancient Mayan belief, sex can be predicted from the mother's age and the month of conception. If both are even or odd, it's a girl. But if one is odd and one is even, it's a boy. In Chinese tradition, there is a similar calculation also based on the mother's age and the month of conception. In the West today, many people believe that if the mother is carrying high, the fetus feels high in the uterus, a girl is on the way. But if the mother is carrying low, it's a boy. Another belief is that if the mother craves sweet food, the baby will be a girl. But if she craves sour or salty food, the baby will be a boy. And in some countries, it is believed that if a mother-to-be's right breast is larger than the left, she will have a boy. But if the left is larger, she will have a girl. But none of this belief has the slightest scientific basis, but they demonstrate how important gender is to a child's future in most culture, even before birth. Many cultures have a bias in favor of boys, and the use of sex-selective abortion is resulting in gender ratios skewed towards boys, especially in uh, Asian culture where this bias is particularly pronounced. We know the birth process, there are three stages, labor, delivery, and the expelling of the placenta and umbilical cord. Because birth has been risky across most of human history, many traditional cultures have developed beliefs that childbirth puts a woman in a stage of being unclean and that she must be ritually cleansed or excluded from everyday activities. Also, the placenta is often disposed of ritually in traditional cultures because of beliefs that it is potentially dangerous, so that no unpleasant consequences such as minor pimples on the baby or as major as baby's death. The traditions surrounding the placenta are more examples in other cultures like uh, Indonesia, Ghana, and Malaysia. The placenta is treated as part of the baby's semi-human siblings. Following delivery, the midwife washes the placenta and buries it as she would a stillborn infant. In some cultures, the burial includes prayer to the placenta, imploring it not to harm the newborn child or the mother. Most women of reproductive age, roughly ages 15 to 40, who have sexual intercourse on a regular basis will become pregnant within a year or two. However, for some couple, becoming pregnant is more problematic. Rates of infertility in the United States have been remarkably consistent over the past century at about 10 to 15% of couples. A worldwide assessment of infertility between 1990 and 2010 also found that rates had stayed consistent about 9 to 13%. In many cultures, the meaning of infertility involves not only the couple. It may mean that there will be no one to continue the family tradition of remembering and worshiping the ancestors, a responsibility that often falls on the oldest son, especially in Asia and African cultures. It may also mean that the status of the wife is lowered in relation to her husband, her in-laws, and the community because infertility is viewed more as her failure than his. Even if she has daughters or multiple daughters, she may still be seen as inadequate if she fails to produce a son. To overcome infertility, women may try herbal remedies provided by the midwives. Others may seek supernatural remedies. Like, for example, in Ghana, women often consult a shaman, a religious leader believed to have special powers. He focuses on trying to appease the wrath of the gods, believed to be inflicting fertility on the woman as a punishment. If infertility persists, it is viewed in many cultures as grounds for her husband to divorce his wife or take another wife. Female and male factors contribute equally to infertility. Female infertility is most often caused by problems in ovulation And male infertility may be caused by too few sperm, poor quality of sperm, or low motility of sperm. And the good news is there are treatments for infertility. Treatments for infertility are termed assisted reproductive technology. The oldest effective treatment for infertility is intrauterine insemination, and this involves the placing the sperm in a woman's uterus to facilitate fertilization. It is the simplest and least expensive reproductive technology and has a success rate of about 10 to 20% per trial. Over several trials, success rates vary with age, from nearly 40% for women under 25 to 15% for women ages 42 to 43. IUI costs range between $500 to $4,000, according to Fertility IQ, a resource for fertility costs and doctor reviews. For most people, the cost per round is a few $1,000s. That said, your out-of-pocket will depend on whether insurance covers IUI and the inclusion of add-ons such as donor sperm, ultrasound, and medications. If the primary problem is that the woman cannot ovulate properly, the most common approach is to stimulate ovulation through fertility drugs. The following are some of the infertility medications available in the United States, and consequently, use of fertility drugs produce high rates of multiple births, about 10 to 25% depending on the drug. How adorable it is to have multiple births of 7 or 8 infants, but consequently, multiple births are often tragic. The more babies conceived at once, the higher the risk for miscarriage, premature birth, and serious developmental difficulties. The most common type of assisted reproductive technology is the in vitro fertilization, or IVF. In patients undergoing IVF, follicle-stimulating hormone is administered at levels that are higher than naturally occurring to cause a controlled overstimulation of the ovaries so that they ultimately produce multiple eggs. The eggs are then retrieved just before ovulation would occur while the woman is under anesthesia through an aspiring needle that is guided by ultrasound. And most sperm samples are produced by masturbation. In the laboratory, the identified eggs are stripped of surrounding cells and prepared for fertilization in a petri dish. After fertilization, embryos can be further screened for genetic suitability, frozen for later attempted pregnancies, or delivered into the woman's uterus by a catheter. Common convention is to transfer the embryo 3 days after fertilization when the embryo has 8 cells, or on day 5 when the embryo is called a blastocyst and has hundreds of cells. If the woman's eggs are of poor quality due to age or toxic exposure, or have been removed due to cancer, donor cells or donor eggs may be used. In case that the intended mother has a problematic uterus or a lack one, another woman called the gestational carrier or surrogate can use her uterus to carry the pregnancy. To increase the odds of success, which are high as 40% for a woman younger than 35, doctors sometimes transfer multiple embryos at once, which is why IVF results in twins and triplets more often than natural pregnancies. However, most clinics seek to minimize the chances of multiple pregnancies as they are riskier for the mother and the baby. The cost of IVF, assisted reproductive technology, as we see, is a blessing because it allows many prospective parents, regardless of age, marital status, or sexual orientation, to have children. However, this is expensive. Pricing can vary depending on where you live. According to the National Conference of State Legislature, the average IVF cycle can cost anywhere from 12,000 to 17,000, not including medication. With medication, the cost can rise closer to $25,000. Clinics define an IVF as an one egg retrieval and all the embryo transfer that result from the retrieval. There are add-ons, including genetic testing of the embryo and surgical procedures such as sperm extraction or laparoscopy, which can increase the cost of IVF by thousands of dollars. So most people will require more than one round of treatment, though exactly how many cycles you'll need is hard to predict. Some studies suggest that women can get by with 3, others suggest that numbers may be closer to 6. So here are some estimate costs. So there are variations, consulting, medication costs, and these are not covered by one's insurance. 6% of people have to pay entirely out of pocket for all of these costs. Typically, only a small fraction of the cost, they might cover a shot, which will help stimulate ovulation, or they might cover a portion of the medications for egg freezing or IVF, but a place that will cover all treatments is rare. There are certain ways to bring down cost. Talk to your insurance and figure out what your different options are. There are some organizations that offer egg freezing at 4% of the national average. 11,000 is the national average for the retrieval procedure. When you have compiled information about cost, make a financial plan, and then figure out how you can pay for your treatment. Across the world, people view children as a significant event in their lives, and they look forward to experiencing it. Maria del Carmen Bosada Lara was the oldest recorded woman to have babies in 2006 at age 66. Actually, she received IVF treatment and gave birth by cesarean section to twin boys. So I talked about the natural process of pregnancy, birth, the cultural variations, infertility, and assisted reproductive technology. Human pregnancies can be achieved naturally or by assisted reproductive technology. And as a final note, if you have pregnancy problems, you can resort to assisted reproductive technologies like IVF. These treatments are expensive, but the joy of 1 or 2 people raising a child outweighs any controversies of assisted reproductive technology. As long as these procedures are safe for the female in bearing a child, there is nothing wrong with seeking this treatment if you want to have a child. Thank you and have a good day.